More and more I think about last night's game, there's more and more things that come to mind that make it extremely clear this year why we're having the problems that we're having. Number one was not having a training camp or an off season like we normally did. It's really affected us. I don't know how much of the injuries are coming from that, but I mean, this team over the past, since the Shanahan Lynch era, has been one of the most injury depleted, decimated teams I've ever seen. It's every year. A lot of people are, saying it's because of the shortened off season, but I mean, we've had injuries like this every single year. The latest one, I can't believe this. The latest one is Ziggy Ansah out for the season with the torn bicep. You can't make this stuff up. This is not pretend. This is 100% real. Another game, another season-ending injury. Quan Williams, who's been hampered for the last couple weeks, it seems, is now on injured reserve with, I think, his knee or his calf. I stand corrected. If you know what it is, comment down below. The one thing I noticed more last night than I've noticed ever before is the offensive line play. It's atrocious. Run blocking, not as bad, but the pass blocking, namely Mike McGlinchey, he has regressed horribly. I don't know how many times they showed him yesterday being beaten by a speed rush, or a power rush or a speed rush, whichever you want. Fact of the matter is, he has regressed horribly for a guy that was a top 10 pick. He is one of the worst offensive linemen we have on our team, for sure. As good as he is in the running game, he is equally bad in the pass protection. Last night was just the epitome of everything that's been going wrong. I mean, even Trent Williams had a bad game. I think he gave up 2 sacks. Interior of the offensive line, Laken Tomlinson, Ben Garland, just everybody played bad. They played really, really bad. And you couple that with the fact that you have a backup that has limitations, playing against a better defense that he had faced in the last couple weeks, and it was just atrocious. The offensive line play was absolutely just atrocious. And the one thing I noticed last night more than anything is that Jet McKinnon is not an every down back. He is a guy that you use sporadically, a change of pace, a guy in the passing game. We miss Raheem Mostert. I mean, he hits those same holes with so much more speed and aggression. I see speed in McKinnon, but I see a guy who's tentative. I don't know if any of you see it, but I see it. I see tentative running. He just has one gear less to break away from tackles, to absorb contact. And the running game is suffering because of it. And because of that, the play action game is suffering. Teams are just pinning their ears back and coming after us. And the fact that our offensive line can't block it is just, it's more magnified. To touch back on the injuries, there definitely has to be a conscious effort to look at what has plagued this team since the Shanahan Lynch regime took over. I mean, I've never seen anything like this. I know the league has injuries. Everybody says, everybody has injuries. Nobody has them like us, other than maybe the Eagles. It's atrocious. You wonder how much, like I said, came from the offseason the way that it was. But then you look at the last previous seasons, and it was the same thing. I mean, mountains of players on injured reserve. 16 to 22 players, I think, 1 year or over the first couple years of the regime. And this year is unbelievable. I mean, you look at the amount of guys that started last year. The Dee Ford situation is something that we need to address this offseason. We need to find a speed rusher We need to a corner, a starting caliber corner, like a solid, real, like top tier guy, and we have to draft a corner within the first 2 rounds for sure. I mean, it's apparent now with the amount of just the amount that's been taken out of our pass rush, how much secondary needs to be addressed. And I know in this particular wide 9 scheme, it's all about defensive line, and that secondary is secondary. But the pass rush has been depleted, and our corners are being kind of shown for what they really are. Quan Alexander is a player that I think the Niners need to move on from. He is the antithesis of why we are so bad in the run option play from other teams who like to have mobile quarterbacks move on us or run the run option. It's something that we do not ever stop. Like, there is no adjustment to the amount of times that we get hit up with the same plays that are never adjusted for. They're never coached up. Guys continually take bad angles, mainly Quan. If I were the Miami Dolphins next week, I would take Tua and put him in the game and run right down our throats because we can't stop it. That is abysmal coaching. The fact that it keeps happening, it happened last year. Every time we played a mobile quarterback, our defense, as good as it was exposed. And this year is no different. Teams are coming right at us. That is something that needs to be addressed. There's a lot of things going on right now that that play into the why this year is so bad. Honestly, my motivation and my passion this year for the 49ers has definitely been affected just from everything. From the COVID situation, just to how last year ended, to now just all the injuries. My excitement has took a huge dip watching games. This is going to be one of the harder years that we've endured as a fan, and we're going to have to freaking live through it and be able to deal with it. I'm not saying that we can't make it through. I'm not saying that we can't have a second half of the season where we just get things together. But if the injuries continue at the pace that they are, no matter how much good coaching we have, you need talent. And if you don't have talent, you can't win. Seattle's going to run away with this division if we don't figure out things quick. We got to figure out a way to stay healthy. We got to get the running game back on track. And when Mostert comes back, we got to figure out a way to get the offensive line play up 10 levels. When Jimmy Garoppolo comes back, his level of play has to be exponentially better than it's been. You look at Kansas City and you look at the reason why they won. And one of the number one reasons, if not the number one reason, is their quarterback. You need to have a quarterback who is an elite level quarterback in order to win. I'm sorry. You just do. You have to. And if not, you got to have a lot of things go really well for you. I mean, he can make throws from any platform, anywhere on the field. He's just an amazing athlete. And that's the term, athlete. That's one thing that the Niners quarterbacks are not. They're not athletes. They don't have the ability to escape the pocket like other quarterbacks and extend plays. They're all sitting ducks back there. So there's definitely going to have to be, this coming off season, there's a lot of things that have to be addressed, from the training staff to how we're going to draft, as far as if we're going to go after a corner or two. We're going to have to rebolster that. I mean, offensive line has to be a huge point of emphasis. If we're going to resign Trent Williams, we got to look at something of maybe moving a guy like McGlinchey at some point while he has some value still. Guy like Dante Pettis, I think he's a wash. He's gone. There's just a lot that needs to be looked into. This is going to be a trying season for us, and just get prepared, get ready, because every time you think things can't get worse, they do. I'm hoping and praying that we can somehow make it through all this, but honestly, I don't have a ton of confidence. If a lot of you don't want to hear what I have to say, I completely understand, but I'm just coming from an honest point of view. I'm not bullshitting, and hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully we can make our way through this, but there's so many things that need to be addressed that I mentioned. If you guys agree, hit me down below with your comments. Do you think that the Niners really need to look into upgrading their defensive backfield? Do you think the 49ers need to look into upgrading their offensive line? Do you think the Niners need to do something about their coaching? Maybe leaving the wide 9 next year and coming back to a more traditional defense that we don't get hacked up by running quarterbacks? Everything. Anything you can think of, I'm down to talk about. So hit me down in the comments below. Drop a like if you like what you hear. Subscribe. And I will talk to everybody on the flip side. See ya.